Well, good afternoon. Thank you. Thanks. Hey, welcome to the 2012 AD North American meeting. We have a great meeting in store for you this year. If this is your first meeting with us, welcome, and if it's your 31st, welcome back. You will be glad that you came. I also want to welcome those of you who may be watching the recorded version of this talk that we'll be distributing later on DVD. We've been giving our talks out to our members via DVD each year, and we've got a bunch of them that play them and watch them together as a company, and some that even take them home and play them with their family. I've had a fella come up to me last year who told me how much his dad loves me, which was very gratifying. But frankly, I thought, could you get your dad to call my dad, and spread that news around a little bit, Relationships are difficult. That's probably the theme for the talk that I'm going to be giving today. I also want to welcome any of you that may be watching this online on YouTube. We post all of our company videos, all the different videos we do throughout the year on the AD YouTube channel. It's really a great way for us to connect with all the different people that work in your companies. And those are folks that are so critically important to all of our success. And we're using that vehicle to do that. And I encourage you all to use all the great new communication vehicles that are out there. It's a wonderful, wonderful new world that we live in. Well, it's been about a year since we've been together. I hope you're doing well. You all look good. And we've collectively have been doing very, very well. We finished 2011 with total affiliate sales across all of our divisions at $23.5 billion. Strong. And that was actually a 16% increase over the business that we did in the previous year, which was double-digit growth over the previous year, even before that. But one of the things that I'm particularly proud about is that the business that our members did with our suppliers actually grew even more than that. That was up 20% last year. Now we're on track once again, for a very strong year. We were about 12 points ahead across all our divisions through 6 months. We're at about 8% ahead where we are today, and we're still going to be working to try to achieve the third consecutive year of double-digit growth together. And there are other good things going on within affiliated distributors as well. I'm pleased to report that the investment income that we generate through our treasury function once again exceeds the total cost of operating affiliated distributors. And that enables us to distribute back to our members 100%, every dollar in rebates that every supplier pays into the organization. So that is strong, and it's unique in all the different industries in which AD participates. And I'll tell you another thing that I'm truly proud of within this group, and that are the relationships that we have and that we're developing. The relationships that our staff is developing with our supplier partners, the relationships our staff is developing with our affiliates here, and the relationships that you all are developing with each other. They're an enormous part of the success that we have. I mean, we are a high-performing group because we're cohesive and we value each other's participation. We value each other's relationships. And when I was thinking about our theme, relationships and investing in relationships, I started thinking that isn't it interesting that the companies that seem to do the best inside of affiliated distributors, in fact, the companies that seem to do the best in the industry as a whole are those companies that are best at relationships. And you've probably noticed yourself from your perspective that the people within any given company that seem to go farthest and do the best in those companies are the people that are best at relationships there too. So being good at relationships is really valuable in the business world. But we all struggle with relationships sometimes. Every one of us, and I bet every one of us here today, is struggling with some relationship or another right now. Maybe you're struggling with a relationship with somebody in your company. Maybe it's your boss, hopefully not. Or maybe it's one of your peers. Or maybe you're struggling in a relationship with a person that reports to you. And when you've got a tough relationship at work, it's strained and it makes productivity and progress very challenging. It's also possible that you might be struggling in a relationship at home. And we all know the saying, when mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. Well, that is as true can ever get. And when things are tough at home, everything suffers, right? And work suffers too. Or maybe you're struggling in a relationship with one of our good AD distributors or one of our good AD suppliers. It happens. And did you know that while it's rare, the reason that an AD member might sometimes move away from an AD supplier, it's never about price. It's never about some product issue. It's always because of neglect in the relationship. It's because of damage done by one party or the other to the relationships. I mean, our relationships have an enormous impact in everything that we do. So I'm going to share with you today one secret about relationships that every person who's good at relationships actually knows. And I'll talk about how we can apply that secret to increase our personal effectiveness. I've got a great story to share with you, too, about a person who lived long ago and how their failure to understand how relationships really work, how that had a huge negative impact on them. And as an added bonus, I'm going to share with you some of the things that I'm working on relationship-wise. Because sometimes I think that the sole purpose of my life is to serve as a warning to all of you. So we're going to have some fun talking about relationships today, and hopefully you'll be able to pick up a thing or two that you could take home and you can apply at work or even with your family. So we started with the Brad Paisley video, and that's actually Brad's real wife, Kim, and he was singing in that video about how his love of fishing is greater and more important to him than anything else in his life, including his dear wife, Kim. Now, I don't want you to raise your hands right now, but I suspect that there are a number of you in the audience who were thinking to yourself, well, of course. I mean, tell us something we don't know. I mean, we're talking fishing is really cool. But I also suspect that there were many of you here who were thinking, that's just dumb. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I mean, if he was singing about hunting, you might understand, but there's no guns in fishing. There's no shooting in fishing. You know, and there are others of us who maybe don't get the allure of either of those two particular things, but we've all got something, right? I mean, it could be our passion for golf or for boating or biking or cars or NASCAR or even college football. We've all got something. And some of you, I know, have actually a few too many somethings, okay? So these things that we do, these things that we're so passionate about, isn't it interesting, though, that at the end of the day, they never really seem to make us feel fulfilled? I mean, they don't love us back the way that we love them. And for those of you that golf, well, you know that's true. Don't even take that sport up if you don't do it today. So why is it that these things that we enjoy doing really at the end of the day don't bring us any sense of lasting happiness? Well, I believe it's because deep down, every one of us has been wired for connectivity. We've been built for deep and meaningful interactions with other people. And it's only through those real relationships, as difficult as they often are, it's only through those real relationships that we're able to get true and lasting satisfaction. Now, this aspect of who we are, of who we all are, has enormous consequences for us in every aspect of our life, including business. I want to do a little exercise with you, if you'll permit me. I'd like you to take a minute and think about someone in your business life who you have a great relationship with. It could be a coworker, it could be a customer, a supplier. Maybe think about somebody that you were really looking forward to coming to this meeting to see, someone that you really wanted to see again. Got that person pictured in your mind? Well, I'm going to suggest to you that the person that you're thinking of right now is actually a person that really cares about you. This is a person who's proven to you through your interactions with them that they have an interest in you. They've asked you questions when they see you about work and about your family and about your life, and perhaps they've even done things for you over the years to show you that they care about you. And as a result, and this is only natural, we care about them. And we're more than willing to do things for them and to go that extra mile for them whenever we legitimately can. Now, a lot of people in the business world don't build relationships that way. There's a lot of folks out there who want to make us do things, who want to influence us by telling us and showing us and convincing us about how important they are. You know, people want to tell you about don't you know the title on my business card? And don't you know who I am in this organization? And they want to get us to do things because of who they are, maybe because of all the great products. We got these great products, and we have this enormous market share, or we've got all these purchase orders that we can write. This is why you should be paying attention to us. But when the rubber hits the road, that's not really what motivates us. What really motivates us to want to do more business with someone, to like someone, to want to support them, to want to help them, is whether or not we think that person or that company cares about us, whether they care about our needs. And when you put those two different approaches to personal interaction side by side, well, you discover quickly the secret to effective relationships. People that are good at relationships, they put the needs of other people first. They don't ask you first to invest in them. They invest in you. And the people that don't do that, the people that consistently put their needs ahead of others, they do struggle. I mean, they can do okay for a short period of time. Might seem long, but it's short. But over time, they pay a price for not putting the needs of other people first. If they own a company, they might have a hard time attracting really good people to work or to stay in that company. If they're on an executive team, they would typically have strained relationships with their peers. If they're in sales, they do okay, but you'll find them bouncing from company to company. And if they are a distributor or if they're a supplier, people that do business with them are looking for alternatives and will take those alternatives whenever the opportunity arises. People that put the needs of their own interests first on a consistent basis always pay a price for doing that. And this has always been true throughout recorded history. So I've got a cautionary tale for you today that actually takes place 3,000 years ago. That's a long time ago. And this is the story of a king who didn't understand the secret to effective relationships. And his failure in that specific regard, well, it changed the course of history for his entire nation. It destroyed his family's dynasty. And for him personally, it kind of relegated him to obscurity. Now, the king that I'm talking about here is actually the fourth king of ancient Israel. And you'll be forgiven if you don't know who that is, because I don't think very many people know who that is and wouldn't even recognize the king's name if you mentioned it to them. That's how big a mistake this fellow made. And it's actually pretty interesting that we don't know who he was, because most of us will recognize the name of his father, King Solomon, who was the third king of ancient Israel. And most of us recognize the name of his grandfather, King David, who was the second king of ancient Israel. So here you go. We know who the second king is. We know who the third king is. Why don't we know who the fourth king is? Because the fourth king made a really bad mistake when it comes to relationships and paid a huge, huge price for it. He came from a wonderful family. His name was Rehoboam. Rehoboam's father, Solomon, was widely regarded in his time as the wisest man who ever lived. I mean, he was wealthy, he was powerful, there was peace in the kingdom. And people came from all over the world to listen to the things that he had to say. And he wrote stuff down that he said in books that 3,000 years later, people are still reading to this day and learning things from. Rehoboam had a really, really smart dad. And his grandfather was enormously smart and successful too. King David, was a legendary warrior. I mean, he conquered all the neighboring nations. He vastly expanded the empire. And during the reigns of David and during the reigns of Solomon, Israel, little Israel, was actually the most powerful nation in all the world. Which brings us to the story of Rehoboam. When his father died, Rehoboam went to a town in northern Israel called Shechem to be made the king. And the country was comprised of 12 tribes. And the elders of these 12 tribes got together and they said, Rehoboam, we have served your father faithfully for many years. But before we serve you, we have one small request. Your father put a heavy load on us in terms of taxes, in terms of forced labor, and if you would just lighten our load a little bit, we will gladly serve you. Well, Rehoboam wasn't sure what to do, so he went back home to seek advice. And he turned first to the elders who were giving advice all the years to his dad, King Solomon. So we're talking about the wise men that the wisest man on earth would go to for advice. So that's like smart on top of smart right there. And they gave him some pretty smart advice. They gave him the secret to having effective relationships. And here's what they said. They said, Rehoboam, if you will serve these people today and give them a favorable answer, they will serve you faithfully all the rest of your life. But Rehoboam rejected that advice, and he turned instead to the young men that he grew up with, who now comprised his inner circle. And he said, fellas, what do you think I should do? And they said, well, you need to lead from a position of strength. You need to show the people that you're in charge now, that you're the boss. And here's how we suggest you put it. Tell them that your father's little finger, that your little finger is stronger and wider than your father's waist. And tell them that while your father put on a heavy yoke on them, the yoke that you're going to put on them is even heavier. And furthermore, tell them this. Tell them that while your dad beat them with whips, you're going to beat them with scorpions. Now, it's a good bet that you've never worked for a person who literally suggested that to you, and you've probably never done business with a company that literally threatened to beat you with a scorpion. I mean, where would a person even buy a scorpion these days if you wanted to beat somebody with it? But we've all gotten that message from someone, somewhere along the way. I mean, it's the me, take care of me, I'm important, do what I tell you or else message. And it's not exactly endearing, is it? I mean, it doesn't make us want to jump through hoops for people, does it? But that's how Rehoboam answered the people. And it did not go well. The people rebelled, and 10 of the 12 tribes, they split off. They formed their own kingdom to the north. They actually crowned their own king. The nation was divided. It was split in two. And from that day forward, everything that King David had built over the course of his entire reign, everything that Solomon had built over the course of his entire reign, was slowly just taken apart, brick by brick, piece by piece. And over the next 300 years, nation after nation came and invaded and conquered and plundered and exiled the weakened and divided kingdom. All because of one person, one single person who did not understand the secret to effective relationships. Friends, you don't want to be that person. The business that you're working in right now is a great business. Grow it, sustain it, build it by serving the needs of others around you. The job that you have right now is a wonderful job, but you can rise even higher, even to points that you never imagined, by serving the needs of others. Find problems that people have and help them solve them. For those of you with direct reports, ask them what obstacles they've got and take them out of their path. Go the extra mile for your customers. Support the needs of your suppliers. Find out what your distributors need to be successful and give it to them. Investing in relationships in this industry is one of the greatest investments that you can ever make, and it will always give you an attractive return. Now, as important as relationships are in business, and hopefully I've covered that, well, they are 152.5% more important at home. That's a statistical research that I did there. I'm not sure why people don't talk more about family life at business conferences. I mean, it's like, oh, no, that's family. We can't talk about that. But I think that's ridiculous. Our work and our families are intertwined in virtually every way imaginable. I mean, every person here, of course, is a member of a family. Our entire organization is made up of family businesses, or ESOPs, which are really just, a bunch of families together owning a business. Our families are central to who we all are and central to our collective success. And when things are good at home, we've at least got a shot that things are going to be good at work, you know? But when things are bad at home, we don't stand a prayer. Now, some of you here today are single, and some of the things that I'm going to talk about may not directly apply in your life today, but eventually they will, and maybe, just maybe, you'll remember a few of the things that I have to say at this point. The vast majority of us here in this room, we work as hard as we do for the people that we love at home. Am I correct? I mean, you know, we want to give our children a better future. We want to take good care of our spouses. We do the things we do at work for the people that we love at home. But the truth of the matter is that we can often find ourselves pouring so much into our work that there's not a whole lot left over for people back home. And so the very people that we're working for are often the same people that we let down. And I do speak from experience. In fact, if they were ever to make a movie of my first marriage, they would have to they'd have to put one of those big warning signs at the beginning of the film, you know, in yellow that said, "Please don't try this at home," you know? But I suspect that I am not alone in that regard, because 90% of the people in this room are type A personalities. We are driven, and we're proud of it. And being type A and being as driven as we are is a huge part of what it took for us to get to this point, and as far as we have, and we have mountains yet to climb. We work hard because work is hard, and we want to do well. In fact, we want to win. See, I get excited just even saying that word, you know? But the problem is that there's really no end to how much we could pour into our jobs if we're willing. Work will take everything that we've got to give, and it will ask for more. I mean, there will always be one more call to make. There's always going to be one more trip to take, one more email to answer, one more report to write. And we can find ourselves, if we're not careful, paying a really big price for that. Because the people that we love and that we care about back home, well, they have their own needs too. And, you know, and at the top of their list are time, attention, love. And you know, there's not a one of them that could ever thrive or truly feel loved, no matter how strong or secure they are, when we show them every single day through our actions, through our calendars, that their needs come second to our needs, second to our job, second to our businesses. Now, saying that we put family first and actually doing it are really, really different. I mean, it's an easy thing to say, but for those of us that are type A, it's a hard thing to do. It actually means making sacrifices at work that a whole bunch of us have not been used to making. It means we need to put the phone down. Even if that call, hey, that could really be a good idea. It means we need to take one last trip, even if it could lead to something big. If our family really needs us to be home. It means putting the needs of others first. Now, many of you know that I wasn't at our spring electrical network meeting this year, and a number of people told me how happy they were not to see me. But I also was not at our HVAC spring network meeting, and I was not at our PVF spring network meeting this year, and I did not make our Amarok fall meeting, which took place about 3 weeks ago. That's a lot of important, very important meetings for me to miss in any one year. And it's not something that I've ever done before. But I could not go to those meetings. I mean, my family truly needed me to be home on those very days. And I couldn't even lie to myself in a convincing enough fashion that they didn't. And do you want to know the crazy part about it? Do you want to know the hardest part of not going? Was actually the shame and embarrassment that I felt in having to admit to others, people I work with and others, that maybe I can't juggle every single ball. You know, that maybe my life is not perfect. That maybe I've got problems and I've got challenges, just like every one of us here. You know, it's amazing how our pride can blind us to what everyone around us already knows. Invest your time with your family. Now, there are probably some of you that are thinking right about now, good for you, Bill. You go, put that family first. But Bill, I can't afford to do that with my job. I can't afford to do that in my situation. You know, if something happens to my job, I've got really serious problems. And I hear you, and I truly do respect where you're coming from. But hear me for a minute when I tell you that there is no smarter investment you can ever make in your job than to spend the time with your spouse and with your children that they really need. If you have ever been through a divorce, or if you've ever even seen one up close, well, you know what I'm saying. As hard as every marriage is, divorce is even harder. It will tear you up. It will blow up your family. And it's sure not good for your performance at work or for your company either. And if you think that what your children really want are the things that your hard work enables you to buy for them, that's not true. What your children want is you. They want dad. They want mom. You know, there's a bunch of us here who did not get that from our parents when we were growing up, so we ought to know better. And I'm here to tell us it ain't too late for any of us. I love the picture that we put this year on the cover of AD Today. The granddad and his granddaughter. That's what I see, at least. And I think we were going for the over and the under in terms of age for all of you when we picked that picture out. I don't think there's anybody here that's that old. And I know you're not that young. Every one of us is somewhere between those two stages of life. And what we choose to do at this point in our lives is going to determine to a really big extent what that picture looks like for all of us. The little girl in that picture, she doesn't care how much money her grandfather has in the bank. She just wants to know that he loves her. And she measures love the only way she knows how. She measures it by the time that he spends with her. And you know what? Your kids measure love the same way, and so does your spouse. Invest in your relationships with them. And if you are already divorced, or if you're remarried, that's okay. I am too. We just need to invest even more. So how do we all do that? We do it by putting their needs ahead of ours, even when it hurts, even when it cuts into what precious little time that we have set aside for ourselves, even if no one says thank you, even if it seems broken beyond repair. Invest, endure. Now, I cannot promise you, I cannot promise you that if you do that, that everything will turn out for you the way you want it to at home. I can promise you that if you don't, it won't. And I can promise you that there is no greater or more important investment that you could ever make. Now make no mistake. I want every single person here and everyone watching this on DVD or online to have a hugely successful career. I want every AD supplier here to realize accelerated growth by being part of the AD community. And we're going to walk with you step by step, year after year, to make that happen with you. And I want every AD member here to realize dynamic growth, to be part of a progressive, growing, independent business. Take share from the national chains in your local markets. Kick their rears. AD and I are solidly with you. And we've got programs to help you grow and to increase your profitability. But you can be a success at work without giving it your entire body, being and soul. Because it just takes investing in relationships with good people in your business, with good AD distributors, and with good AD suppliers. Because at the end of every day, we all need to leave the office and go home. We need to go home, friends, to the people who love us and the people who need us. And we need to say, how can we help you? And maybe, just maybe, for some of you, there's a phone call to someone special that you've been putting off that you need to make. Make that call. Take that trip. And if you aren't sure how to get that conversation started, try saying simply this: how can I help you? Because that's the secret to good relationships at work and at home. That's the secret to success and to happiness, to give unto others, to do for others. And may God shine His blessings upon you all and upon everyone listening. Thank you very much, friends, and have a great meeting. Thank you.